I didn't knock. The hospital room door was already half open, and what I saw through that gap made my blood run cold. My son Daniel, my only child, lay unconscious in the ICU bed, tubes running from his arms, a ventilator breathing for him. The monitors beeped steadily, the only sound in the sterile silence. But his wife wasn't there. I'd driven 12 hours straight, from Phoenix to Portland, when the hospital called. Daniel had collapsed at work. Brain aneurysm, they said. Emergency surgery. Critical condition. They'd asked if I was family, if I could get there quickly, if I knew how to reach his wife. His wife, Lauren. I pushed the door open wider. A nurse looked up from checking Daniel's A4 line, startled. "Mr. Brennan, we've been trying to reach you for 6 hours." I know. I came as fast as I could. I moved to my son's bedside, my hand trembling as I touched his shoulder. He looked so small in that bed, so fragile. This was the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to stand up for himself. Now he couldn't even breathe on his own. "Where's Lauren?" The nurse's expression shifted, something uncomfortable crossing her face. "We haven't been able to reach her either. We called the number on file, left messages. His phone was locked, so we couldn't access other contacts until we got into his emergency information." I pulled out my phone. No messages from Lauren, no missed calls. I dialed her number. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. "How long has he been like this?" I asked. "He was brought in around 6 this morning. The aneurysm ruptured while he was in a meeting. Coworkers called 911 immediately. He went into surgery at 7:30. Dr. Reeves can give you more details, but..." She hesitated. "The next 72 hours are critical." I nodded, unable to speak. My son might die, and his wife wasn't answering her phone. I called her again, and again. By the 7th attempt, I was pacing the hallway outside the ICU, my jaw clenched so tight it ached. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Lauren. "In a meeting. What's up?" "What's up?" My son was dying, and she wanted to know what's up. I called immediately. This time she answered. "Richard, I'm really busy right now. Daniel's in the ICU." My voice came out flat, cold. "Brain aneurysm. They don't know if he'll make it." Silence. For a long moment, I heard nothing but background noise, voices, music, laughter. "Oh my God," she said finally. I'll get there as soon as I can." "Where are you?" "I'm at a work conference in Seattle. I can catch a flight tonight, maybe tomorrow morning." "A conference?" I repeated the word slowly. "Your husband is dying, and you're at a conference." "Richard, don't start with me. This was scheduled months ago. Daniel knew about it. I'll leave as soon as I can, but I have responsibilities here." I hung up. My hands were shaking. I stood in that hospital corridor, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, and something inside me shifted. Something that had been dormant for 3 years, ever since Daniel married this woman I'd never trusted. I'd kept my mouth shut, respected my son's choice, welcomed her into the family despite every instinct, screaming that something was wrong about Lauren Hastings. Too polished, too perfect, too interested in the fact that Daniel had just accepted a position as lead architect at Morrison & Klein, one of the most prestigious firms in the Pacific Northwest. Too interested in the trust fund his mother, my late wife Sarah, had left him. $2.4 million, set to fully vest on his 35th birthday, which was in 6 weeks. I pulled up my phone and did something I'm not proud of. I opened Daniel's banking app. I had his password from when I'd helped him set up automatic bill payments last year and logged in. The checking account showed a balance of $847. That couldn't be right. Daniel made $180,000 a year. Even with his mortgage and expenses, he should have had at least $20,000 or $30,000 easily accessible. I checked the transaction history. My stomach dropped. Transfer to Lauren Hastings' personal account, $15,000. October 30th. Transfer to Lauren Hastings' personal account, $12,000. October 23rd. Transfer to Lauren Hastings' personal account, $18,000. October 15th. Transfer to Lauren Hastings' personal account, $20,000. October 8th. I scrolled back further. The pattern continued. Month after month, hundreds of thousands of dollars moved systematically from my son's accounts into hers. I checked the savings account. It had been emptied 3 weeks ago. $127,000 gone in a single transfer. I stood there in that hallway, my son fighting for his life 30 feet away, and I understood with terrible clarity what I was looking at. Lauren wasn't at a conference, and she wasn't planning on Daniel surviving. I walked back into the ICU room and sat down beside my son's bed. I took his hand. It was warm, alive, even though machines were doing the work of keeping him that way. I thought about the little boy who'd crawled into my lap when his mother died, who'd sobbed into my shoulder and asked me why God took her away. I'd had no answer then. I'd held him and promised I'd always protect him. I'd failed, but I wasn't going to fail again. I pulled out my phone and made a call to someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Gary Chin, a private investigator I'd worked with back when I ran my construction business, back when I'd needed to vet contractors and catch embezzlers. He answered on the second ring. Richard Brennan. Been a while. Gary, I need you in Portland, tonight if possible, and I need you to find out everything about someone named Lauren Hastings Brennan. Where she is, who she's with, what she's spending money on, everything. What's the situation? My son's in a coma. His wife is draining his accounts and doesn't seem particularly concerned about whether he lives or dies. There was a pause. I'll be on the next flight out. The doctor came in an hour later. Dr. Patricia Reeves, neurosurgeon, mid-40s, with kind eyes and steady hands. She explained what I already knew. The aneurysm had been massive. The surgery had gone as well as could be expected, but the swelling in Daniel's brain was severe. They'd induced a medical coma to give him the best chance of recovery. The next week is critical, she said. We're monitoring him constantly. If the swelling goes down, if there's no additional bleeding, he has a chance. But I won't lie to you, Mr. Brennan. It's a very real possibility that he won't wake up. And if he does, there may be significant cognitive damage. What are his odds? She met my eyes. 30% chance of full recovery, 40% chance of severe disability. 30% chance he doesn't make it at all. I nodded slowly. And his wife? Has she called? Not that I'm aware of. I stayed at the hospital that night. Slept in the chair beside Daniel's bed, waking every hour when the monitors beeped or nurses came to check vitals. My back ached, my neck was stiff, but I didn't leave. Lauren never called. Gary Chen arrived at 6 a.m. the next morning. We met in the hospital cafeteria, both of us drinking terrible coffee from paper cups. I did some preliminary work on the flight, Gary said, sliding a folder across the table. Lauren Hastings, maiden name Mitchell, 29 years old. Marketing consultant, supposedly freelance. Met your son 2 years ago at a charity gala. Married 8 months later. I know all that. What don't I know? Gary opened the folder. She's not at a conference in Seattle. She's at the Cascade Resort and Spa, checked in under her maiden name. Room 412. And she's not alone. He showed me a photograph on his phone. It was time-stamped 11 p.m. the previous night. Lauren, my son's wife, sitting at a hotel bar. She was laughing, her hand on the arm of a man in an expensive suit. He was in his 40s, silver-haired, confident smile. Who is he? Marcus Webb, real estate developer, recently divorced, worth about $30 million. They've been seen together 3 times in the past month, always when your son was traveling for work. I stared at the photograph. Lauren looked radiant, happy, nothing like a woman whose husband was dying in an ICU 70 miles away. There's more, Gary said. I pulled financial records. Lauren's been methodically emptying your son's accounts for the past year. Not just transfers to her personal account, she's been moving money into offshore holdings. Cayman Islands, specifically. I found evidence of at least $400,000 moved in the past 6 months alone. Can we trace it? With the right legal authority, yes. But here's what concerns me most. Gary pulled out another document. 3 weeks ago, Lauren purchased a life insurance policy on your son. $2 million payout, double indemnity for accidental death. She's the sole beneficiary. My coffee had gone cold. I set it down carefully, my hands steady even though my mind was racing. And there's this. Gary showed me another photo. A text message exchange, recovered from Lauren's cloud backup. The messages were between Lauren and someone saved in her contacts as M. M. How much longer? Lauren. 6 weeks until the trust vests, then we're set. And if something happens before then? Lauren. Insurance is in place. Either way, we're covered. Im. I love you. Lauren. Love you too. Can't wait to be done with this. The messages were dated 4 days ago. I sat very still, reading them over and over. My son was fighting for his life upstairs, and his wife was planning her future without him. Planning her future with Marcus Webb, planning to collect either the trust fund or the insurance money, whichever came first. Gary, I said quietly, I need you to find out everything about this policy. When it was purchased, how it was purchased, what the terms are, and I need you to keep watching Lauren. I want to know where she goes, who she talks to, what she does. Document everything. What are you thinking? I'm thinking my daughter-in-law is waiting for my son to die, and I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. I went back upstairs to the ICU. Daniel's condition hadn't changed. The machines still breathed for him. The monitors still beeped their steady rhythm. I sat beside him and took his hand. I've got this, son, I whispered. You just focus on getting better. I'll handle everything else. My phone rang. Lauren, I answered. Yes? Richard, I'm so sorry. I've been trying to get a flight, but everything's booked. The earliest I can get back is tomorrow afternoon. Don't bother. Silence. What? I said, don't bother. Stay in Seattle. Enjoy your conference. Enjoy Marcus Webb. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Richard, I don't know what you think. I think you should know that Daniel's bank accounts have been frozen as of this morning. Medical power of attorney has been transferred to me, and I've contacted a forensic accountant to audit every transaction you've made in the past 2 years. More silence. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. The sweet, concerned tone was gone, replaced by something colder. You can't do that. I already did. As Daniel's father and next of kin, I have full legal authority while he's incapacitated. Every account, every asset, every policy. It's all being reviewed by my attorneys as we speak. You bastard. That money is mine. I'm his wife. You're a thief. And if my son dies, you're going to be a murder suspect. I hung up. The next 72 hours were a blur. Daniel remained stable but unresponsive. The swelling in his brain began to decrease slowly, which Dr. Reeves said was encouraging. I never left the hospital except to meet with my attorneys and Gary Chen. The forensic accountant I'd hired, Jennifer Park, a specialist in financial fraud, worked with frightening efficiency. Within 2 days, she'd traced $680,000 that Lauren had systematically stolen from Daniel's accounts. The offshore transfers, the cryptocurrency purchases made in Daniel's name and immediately sold, the proceeds transferred to Lauren's accounts, the credit cards she'd opened using his information. This is textbook financial abuse, Jennifer said when she presented her findings. She's been planning this for at least 18 months, probably since before they got married. Can we recover the money? Some of it? With court orders. But the offshore accounts are tricky. We'll need to prove intent to defraud, and that takes time. We have time. My son isn't going anywhere. On the 4th day, Lauren showed up at the hospital. I was in Daniel's room when she walked in, looking immaculate in a designer suit, her expression carefully composed into concern. She stopped when she saw me sitting beside the bed. Richard, Lauren, I want to see my husband. You're seeing him alone? No. Her jaw tightened. You can't keep me from him. I'm his wife, and I'm his medical proxy. Dr. Reeves has been informed that you're not to be left alone with the patient. You can visit, but I'll be here. She stared at me, and for the first time, I saw the real Lauren. Not the sweet, charming woman who'd fooled my son. The mask had slipped, and underneath was someone cold and calculating. You're going to regret this, she said quietly. I doubt that. She stayed for exactly 10 minutes, standing by Daniel's bed but not touching him, not speaking to him, just watching the monitors with an unreadable expression. Then she left without another word. Gary called me an hour later. She went straight to a law office downtown, met with a divorce attorney named Sandra Kirkwood, one of the toughest in the city. They talked for 90 minutes. She's going to try to divorce him while he's in a coma? Looks like it. Kirkwood specializes in high-asset divorces. She's going for the trust fund. I felt a cold smile cross my face. Let her try. The divorce petition was filed 3 days later. Lauren Hastings Brennan was seeking dissolution of marriage, citing irreconcilable differences. She was demanding half of all marital assets, including Daniel's trust fund, the house, his retirement accounts, and spousal support. My attorney, Frank Morrison, a man I'd known for 30 years, called me immediately. Richard, she's claiming Daniel was abusive, emotionally controlling, that she feared for her safety, and that's why she moved money into separate accounts. That's a lie. I know. But she's building a case. She's got a therapist willing to testify that she'd been in treatment for trauma related to the marriage. She's got a timeline of incidents. She's making Daniel look like a monster. I closed my eyes. My son, who'd never raised his voice in anger his entire life, who volunteered at homeless shelters, who'd cried at our wedding when I walked him down the aisle after Sarah died, this woman was trying to destroy his reputation while he lay unconscious. Frank, I need you to do something for me. Name it. I need you to request a court-ordered mental evaluation of Lauren. If she's claiming trauma severe enough to flee the marriage, she should be willing to undergo a psychiatric assessment. And I need you to depose Marcus Webb. The guy she's been seeing? Exactly. Put him under oath. Let's see if he admits to the affair. Let's see if he knew she was married. Frank was quiet for a moment. Richard, I've known you a long time. What are you planning? I'm planning to protect my son, by any means necessary. The breakthrough came on day 9. Daniel's eyes opened. I was reading the newspaper, actual paper, something to do with my hands while I waited when I heard a sound from the bed. A small groan, barely audible over the ventilator. I looked up. Daniel's eyes were moving beneath his lids. Nurse, I called out, already on my feet. He's waking up. The medical team rushed in. Dr. Reeves began a series of tests, checking pupil response, asking Daniel to squeeze her hand, to follow her finger with his eyes. The ventilator was removed. Daniel coughed, gasped, and then took his first independent breath in 9 days. Daniel, Dr. Reeves said gently, can you hear me? I'm Dr. Reeves. You're in the hospital. You had surgery. Do you understand? My son's eyes focused slowly. He looked confused, frightened. His gaze moved around the room until it found me. Dad? His voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. I gripped his hand. I'm here, son. I'm right here. What happened? You had a brain aneurysm. But you're okay. You're going to be okay. His eyes closed again, exhausted from even that small effort. But he was awake. He was alive. And according to Dr. Reeves' preliminary assessment, his cognitive function appeared intact. My son was going to live. Lauren showed up within an hour of the hospital notifying her. She pushed past me into the room, all performance now, tears streaming down her face. Daniel! Oh my God, baby! You're awake! Daniel looked at her with confusion. Lauren? I've been so worried. I've been here every day. She shot me a venomous look, as if daring me to contradict her lie. Dad's been here, Daniel said slowly. His speech was slurred, his thoughts clearly muddled, but his eyes were clearing. Dad stayed. Of course he did. I wanted to, but they wouldn't let me. Lauren. I spoke quietly, but with enough force that she stopped mid-sentence. Daniel needs rest. Dr. Reeves said limited visitors. I'm his wife, and I'm his medical proxy until he's capable of making his own decisions, which, according to Dr. Reeves, won't be for at least another week while they monitor his recovery. She opened her mouth to argue, but Daniel spoke first. Tired, he murmured. So tired, Dr. Reeves stepped in. Everyone out, please. Mr. Brennan needs rest. You can visit later during designated hours. In the hallway, Lauren grabbed my arm. Her nails dug in hard enough to hurt. This isn't over, she hissed. You're right, it's not. She laughed, heels clicking sharply against the linoleum floor. Gary was waiting for me in the cafeteria. Daniel's awake? Yeah, cognitive function looks good. He's confused, tired, but Dr. Reeves is optimistic. Good, because I found something. Gary pulled out his laptop. Remember those offshore accounts? I've been working with a contact in the Caymans. Lauren has been moving money there for 18 months. But here's what's interesting. She started selling off those holdings 3 weeks ago. She's converting everything back to liquid US dollars. Why? Because she's planning to run. Look at this. He showed me flight confirmations. Lauren has 2 first-class tickets booked to the Cayman Islands, departing November 18th. That's 8 days from now. 1 ticket in her name. 1 in Marcus Webb's. She's not even waiting for the divorce. She doesn't have to. With Daniel incapacitated, she probably figured she could drag out the divorce proceedings, claim he was incompetent to participate, and walk away with whatever she could get in the meantime, then disappear with Webb and the money she already stole. I stared at the flight confirmations. November 18th, the same day Daniel's trust fund would fully vest. Gary, I need you to do something for me. And it's not exactly legal. He raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. I need you to access Lauren's email. I need to know if she's been communicating with anyone about Daniel's condition. Specifically, I need to know if there's any evidence she wanted him to die. Gary was quiet for a long moment. If I find something like that, it's not admissible in court. I don't need it for court. I need it for leverage. He nodded slowly. I'll see what I can do. The email came through 2 days later. I was sitting in Daniel's room. He was sleeping peacefully, his recovery progressing faster than anyone expected, when my phone buzzed with a message from Gary. Check your secure email. You're not going to believe this. I stepped into the hallway and opened the encrypted file he'd sent. It was an email chain between Lauren and Marcus Webb, dated November 2nd, the day after Daniel collapsed. Marcus, is he going to make it? Lauren, they don't know yet. 50/50 according to the doctors. Marcus, and if he doesn't? Lauren, then I get the insurance payout immediately. $2M, double indemnity since it happened at work, plus the house, his $401k, everything. We could be in the Caymans by Christmas. Marcus, and if he does wake up? Lauren, then we stick to the plan. Divorce, take what we can get, disappear before anyone figures out the offshore accounts. Either way, we win. Marcus, I hate waiting. I hate that you have to pretend to care about him. Lauren, I don't anymore. His father's there 24/7. I can't even get near Daniel without that old bastard watching me like a hawk. Marcus, maybe that's for the best. The less you're there, the less suspicious it looks later. Lauren, true. God, I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait to be with you for real. No more sneaking around, no more pretending to care about a man I never loved. There were more emails, dozens of them. Lauren and Marcus planning their future, discussing properties in Grand Cayman, talking about the boat they'd buy, the life they'd live. And then I found the one that made my blood run cold. It was from 3 months ago, before the aneurysm. Lauren to Marcus, I've been researching. Did you know that stress can trigger brain aneurysms? Especially in someone with a family history. Daniel's mother died of one. He probably has a genetic weakness. Marcus, where are you going with this? Lauren, just thinking. Daniel's been working 70-hour weeks. He's exhausted, stressed. If something were to happen to him naturally, it wouldn't seem suspicious. And with the insurance policy in place. Marcus, Lauren, are you saying what I think you're saying? Lauren, I'm saying that sometimes nature needs a little help. I'm saying that if Daniel's stress levels increased significantly, if he wasn't sleeping, if his diet and health declined, well, these things happen. Marcus, Jesus Christ. Lauren, don't be squeamish. You said you wanted to be with me. You said you'd do anything. This is how we make it happen. I read that email 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Frank Morrison with a single word, evidence. Frank called me within minutes. Richard, do you understand what this implies? That my daughter-in-law may have deliberately tried to trigger a medical condition that could kill my son. We need to take this to the police. Now. Not yet. First, I want to bleed her dry. I spent the next 3 days with Jennifer Park, the forensic accountant, building an airtight case. We documented every stolen dollar, every fraudulent transfer, every lie Lauren had told. We built a timeline showing her systematic theft, her affair with Marcus Webb, her purchase of the life insurance policy. And then we filed a civil lawsuit, not just for the money she'd stolen, but for attempted murder. The lawsuit hit the news that same day. Wife accused of attempting to kill husband for insurance money, read the headline in the Portland Tribune. The story spread fast, local news, then regional, then national. Lauren's face was everywhere, alongside Marcus Webb's. Her attorney, Sandra Kirkwood, called my attorney immediately, demanding we retract the accusations. Frank's response was simple. Discovery period starts Monday. We'll be deposing your client under oath. If she wants to avoid criminal charges, I suggest she cooperate fully with our investigation. The divorce petition was withdrawn 2 days later. But I wasn't done. Gary had been tracking Lauren's movements. After the lawsuit went public, she'd checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts of Portland, hiding from the media frenzy. Marcus Webb had stopped returning her calls. Rats fleeing a sinking ship, Gary observed. Good. Let her feel what it's like to be alone. Daniel was moved out of the ICU on day 14. His recovery was being called remarkable by the medical staff. His speech had cleared up, his memory was intact, and his motor function was returning to normal. Dr. Reeves said he'd need physical therapy and rest, but he would make a full recovery. I told him everything. We sat in his private room, late at night when the hospital was quiet, and I showed him the evidence, the bank statements, the emails, the insurance policy, the flight confirmations. My son cried. Not the angry tears of a man betrayed, though those would come later. These were the tears of grief, of loss, of a dream dying. He'd loved Lauren. He'd trusted her. He'd believed she loved him too. I'm sorry, Dad, he said finally. You tried to warn me. No, you have nothing to be sorry for. She fooled a lot of people. What happens now? Now, we make sure she can't do this to anyone else. The criminal investigation was opened on November 15th. The district attorney, Maria Santos, reviewed the evidence and agreed there was probable cause for charges of fraud, identity theft, and potentially attempted murder. The attempted murder charge is tricky, she admitted in our meeting. We can prove intent to benefit from his death, but proving she actively caused the aneurysm is nearly impossible. However, the fraud charges are solid. She's looking at 5 to 10 years just for the financial crimes. That's a start, I said. Lauren was arrested on November 17th, one day before her planned flight to the Cayman Islands. Gary made sure to be there, documenting everything. The look on her face when the handcuffs clicked shut was something I'll never forget. Marcus Webb was arrested the same day on conspiracy charges. The trial took 8 months. Daniel testified, still using a cane from his physical therapy, telling the jury how much he'd loved and trusted his wife. The forensic accountant testified about the systematic theft. Gary testified about the surveillance, the affair, the planning. The emails were read aloud in court. Lauren's defense tried to claim she was a victim of Marcus Webb's manipulation, that she'd never intended to hurt Daniel. But the jury didn't buy it. Guilty on 12 counts of fraud. Guilty on identity theft. Guilty on conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. The judge sentenced her to 12 years in federal prison. Marcus Webb got 7 years for conspiracy. Daniel and I stood on the courthouse steps after the verdict, reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing. My son looked tired but peaceful. Is it over? He asked. It's over. We went back to Phoenix together. Daniel moved in with me while he continued his recovery and rebuilt his life. The trust fund money, what was left of it after legal fees and restitution orders, he put into a foundation in his mother's name, helping other victims of financial abuse. Some nights we sit on the back porch, drinking coffee and watching the sunset over the desert. We don't talk about Lauren. We don't talk about what almost happened. Instead, we talk about the future, about second chances, about the fact that evil doesn't always win, that sometimes justice actually prevails. My son is alive. The woman who tried to destroy him is in prison, and I kept my promise to protect him. That's enough for me. But to anyone out there reading this, listening to this story, pay attention to the warning signs. Financial abuse starts small. A few unexplained charges. Money moving without your knowledge. A partner who isolates you from family, who controls access to accounts, who always has an explanation that sounds reasonable until you step back and see the pattern. If you see those signs in your own life or someone you love, don't ignore them. Don't make excuses. Act. Because by the time I realized what Lauren was doing to my son, he was already dying in an ICU bed, and she was planning a life without him. We got lucky. Dr. Reeves told me later that if Daniel's aneurysm had ruptured even slightly differently, he wouldn't have survived. If I hadn't been able to get to Portland when I did, if I hadn't had the resources to hire investigators and attorneys, if Gary hadn't found that evidence, Lauren would be in the Cayman Islands right now with $2 million of insurance money and my son's trust fund, and Daniel would be dead. So watch out for the people you love. Question the things that don't add up. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Because the people who want to hurt you, they're counting on you being too trusting, too loving, too willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't give it to them. My son learned that lesson the hardest way possible. But he survived. And now, 2 years later, he's thriving. He met someone new, a woman named Jennifer, a physical therapist who helped with his recovery. She's kind, honest, and transparent about everything. No secrets, no hidden accounts. They're getting married in the spring. And this time, I won't have a single doubt walking him down that aisle.